Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm trying to record a message to be able to be with my people and anybody that might be connected to me, especially as we go through some of these more difficult and challenging times in light of social distancing and all of those kinds of things. And so here we are. It's a Sunday, and for many of us, this is perhaps the first time in a very long time, or perhaps ever, where our Sunday routine did not include the celebration of the Eucharist. And so it is challenging. It has been a struggle for myself, even though I still get to celebrate. I don't get to celebrate with my people, and I feel that rather deeply. How challenging that really is for me and for so many of you that would love nothing more than to be nourished in the Eucharist at this time. And given that this is now the fourth Sunday of Lent, it is especially thrown into hard relief against what it is that we are really doing liturgically. The fourth Sunday of Lent is always what they call Laetare Sunday, or in which the Church bids us to rejoice. It's the very first word of the entrance antiphon. Many of the prayers for the Mass of the day reflect that idea of rejoicing and joy and all of those kinds of things. And in the light of being locked up in our houses and unable to participate in the Mass, it might seem a little hard to find much rejoicing today. It reminds me, as many things do, of an episode of The Simpsons, of all things. And so there's an episode entitled Homer versus the 18th Amendment about prohibition comes to Springfield. And if you're not familiar with The Simpsons, it doesn't really matter. But at a certain point, they bring in this hard-nosed, no-nonsense detective commissioner, Rex Banner. And Rex Banner is straight out of the Dick Tracy mold of like takes no guff, has no sympathies for everybody, is incapable of laughter, all kinds of things. And at a certain point, he's frustrated because even though he's trying to enforce these laws of prohibition, Homer Simpson, is actually circumventing it and becoming a bootlegger of all different shapes and sizes. And so there's a scene where they're in a diner and there's two police officers on this side and Rex Banner on this side. And the one police officer, Lou, asks, "What's the matter, Chief? You've barely touched your banana kaboom," and in front of Rex Banner is this giant ice cream sundae with a banana in the middle and all kinds of ice cream, and then two sparklers on either side. And he looks up and he goes, "Well, this isn't a very happy birthday for Rex Banner." And it's kind of a funny moment. Throws in relief the idea that this guy would be out celebrating his birthday, even though he's so known nonsense. But it also, I think, communicates my own feelings, and I think the feelings of many of us, of, well, I don't feel very much like rejoicing in the current time. I don't feel like rejoicing, even though that's what the Church invites us to do right now. But if we look at the readings for today's Mass, and I hope that you take the time to do so, the Gospel is one of encouragement in many ways. It's the story of a blind man that's cured by Jesus. And it's an opportunity to see in that beautiful story something of our own condition and time. The man born blind, the man was born blind. He comes across Jesus, or Jesus comes across him. And Jesus cures him by spitting in some dirt, making some mud, rubbing it on his eyes, and then asking him to go wash in the pool of Siloam. And he does so, and he's cured, and everything is great until he begins to interact again with society. And then suddenly things aren't so great. You know, this great miracle cure suddenly comes with a lot of questions. Questions from his neighbors, questions from the Pharisees, even his own parents don't want to seem to either admit to something incredible happening or want to get in the fray of things. And for anybody that was blind in the time of Jesus, it was incredibly isolating. He was forced to be a beggar. He was very much on the outskirts of society. He was isolated and alone. He was unable to see. And for human beings, that's incredibly difficult. We take in up to 80% of our information comes actually through sight, both in terms of how we perceive the world, and even just communications in terms of body language and other things. And so this individual, he's been suddenly given this great gift of freedom and sight, and all he gets is grief for it. How did this happen? What's going on? Could this really be the man who was born blind? On and on and on and on, to the point where he gets a little fed up with everything. And then he interacts again with Jesus, and Jesus asks him, "Do you know who the Son of Man is?" And the blind man does not. And Jesus says, he's the one coming into the world, and I am he. And he asks, "Do you believe?" And the blind man does. And he falls down and worships and says, "I do believe, Lord." And so that's very much what we're being called to right here and now. We too are kind of isolated, alone, feeling kind of on the fringes and on the edges. There's a lot of fear and anxiety. We're not sure what's going to happen. It's hard to see where things are going. And where things might be going, we'd perhaps not like to see. There's a lot of challenges ahead, right now, perhaps for months down the road. But there's an opportunity to reaffirm our faith in God. That in the midst of whatever else is going on, whatever other challenges we face, and who's asking us to do this or do that, that at the end of the day, in this moment, perhaps God and Christ himself is asking, do you believe? Do you believe that Christ can do miraculous things? That he can bring healing? That he can be with us in the midst of this, perhaps, adversity? Do you believe that he is with us, even in the midst of all the other restrictions that are being placed upon us? Do you believe that he is the Son of Man and that he has come to save the world? And if you can fall down in worship, whether that's through spiritual communion, through live streaming of masses, through perhaps even just listening to me drone on for a couple minutes longer than I usually do, then we have in that an opportunity to show our faith not only to ourselves, but to the world around us, and to invite the Lord to help us in all aspects of our lives, especially in these trying times of the coronavirus. Please know of my prayers for you as we go forward. We are working at St. Charles to get live streaming going of the Masses. I tried recording on my phone earlier today. It did not go well, so you're stuck with this instead. But I want us to stay connected. I want you to know that the church, the parish community is still here and still united in prayer and still with us, even though we're going through these unprecedented times. Please know of my prayers for you, and if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love you, and God bless.